Forming the Bleed podcast, guys. And this is where my man James and me love to dive into the real reasons, 7 human bleeds that you're struggling in life. You're not getting what you want. You know, we started to really work with the couples and then the individuals with our programs at Morrow, and then met James, and man, we started to go deeper with the individual, and then we started to go even deeper with companies, seeing how much the fog was causing our clients, right?
That's it. Yeah, and it's, we say this all the time, but as soon as we feel like we figured out a way to just connect with the most people, we figure out a new way of realizing that there's so many more people to connect with. And that's why we move from individuals to groups to families, now to organizations and companies. And so that's everybody's in need of help. Everybody needs to find some of the tools and resources and leaders who can help guide them where they want to be. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today is like, if you need help, what do you do? Where do you go? In the world of the culture that we live in, it's everybody's got a therapist, everybody's got a dentist, everybody's got a self-help guru, everybody's got a spiritualist. And those things are good. They have a place. There's a need for some of that stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, is what we're doing and what we're seeking actually going to take us where we think it's going to take us? And that's our conversation today.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because, a number of people yesterday that we were helping were talking about the therapist. I even had a DM. So you know how we have those training videos that go out so we can invite people to know more about us? I had somebody DM where her and her husband brought the video to their therapist to see it. And I haven't heard back yet as to, what the therapist thought or whatever.
Right.
But I hear all the time that the therapists love our content. Counselors love our content. Pastors love our content. In fact, many have joined our programs and many defer their clients to us. And so I don't think that we're better than therapy. I just think that therapy, we do it differently than therapy. And I think that we're going to talk about more than therapy today, because I think there's a lot of tools that today's society doesn't understand are outdated.
Right.
Like we even use therapeutic modalities and we alter them, we change them.
Right.
You've been a counselor for a number of years in your life.
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's and what we're gonna discuss today. It's one of those things where it's real easy to say, hey, you know what? Eating an apple a day doesn't keep the doctor away. You know what? Getting up and walking hasn't made me lose my weight. Or you know what? Therapy just doesn't work. Each one of those things has a specific outcome. But if people want freedom, if people want this, if people want the other, then they have to ask themselves, is the person leading me to this place that I'm asking to go there themselves? Because there's one thing to have the knowledge and the pathway or even the map. But I can read a map pretty well. But I've handed a map to people in the shotgun seat before, and they've gotten us lost. Just because I can read a map doesn't mean that I can have someone else guide me with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the distinction that we see. A lot of times we find ourselves stuck in life because what we're doing and the help that we're getting is not why we're getting that help. We're not getting the help we're looking for to take us where. So for example, when I broke my foot, I didn't go to the veterinarian. Okay. When I got kidney stones, I didn't decide that I would just, go take a vacation. You go to the hospital, you get what you need. If you need therapy for something, you go get therapy. If you need guidance or what have you, go do this. Now, as a pastoral counselor for years and years and years, a lot of the counseling that I did, and of course, it's faith-based, it's focused on certain things, behavior, mindset, all of these things. But what I found, and even in my own personal life, where I've been in therapy for year after year after year, I've had some terrible therapists, and I have a very good therapist now. But the thing is what I was seeking and what other people were seeking was for me to fix, or for them to fix, or to take me someplace. And so a lot of times we think, well, this is the answer. And people will come to us and say, well, I don't know, this isn't working, or I'm doing this. And then they divide their time. They go out and they find all manner of things to occupy their brain with. And they never put in the work to actually say, is this where I'm wanting to go? And is this taking me there? So that's the conversation we're having today is, what's the difference? Why did I become a coach or an integrated life architect is what I'm a mirror holder basically, rather than stay in the counseling or go in to get certification as a therapist. Because where I am in life, I can bring anybody as long as they do the work. Where Cass is in life, the stuff that he's experienced, the stuff that I've experienced, we are experts in. We are
Mhm.
experts in getting not through it or from it, but using these experiences to launch us into a place of freedom, to launch us
Let me
into a
use a
place of absolute life. We learn to live life rather than run from it.
let me use a really cool example because we did a regular Wednesday night talk show yesterday, and we were talking about sexless marriage. We were talking about reasons why. When we started with why women would be being rejected by their husbands
Right.
because we have a viral post going right now, and now if somebody put in a comment about what if he's abused her sexually, and so speaking of expertise, I mean, it was so powerful. She sent me this beautiful Instagram DM this morning because of her reflection of hearing Catherine take 100% of her 10%, even though I abused her. Now, the therapy, it didn't make Catherine feel better.
Ah,
Learning who she was and the kind of woman she wanted to be was what got her to feel better. And not only that, I had to obviously do my work
right.
and learn who I was, that I didn't have to live in anger and go take what I wanted and be entitled, literally.
Right.
Right. And so she was reluctant. She was reluctant to tell the whole story. I think she was nervous. And I said, well, the hole I picked was her ass. And it was just this one story she was talking about. And I think it's important for people to understand because therapy didn't change my behavior. I did 14 years of it. I decided to change my behavior when I wanted to be someone different,
Right.
like we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not that therapy didn't give me some tools. It's not that Catherine didn't get some tools. But we would almost always leave therapy in a worse state because I would feel worse about myself and it would cause a fight.
Yeah.
Or Catherine would feel more like a victim and hate me more,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so it would cause more problems. So it wasn't until we started doing different kind of work. I want to use an example, one more, then I want to hear your opinion on this. But I was talking to a man with alcohol problems.
Mm.
He's trying to get his employees to stop drinking so much. Speaking of, we talked about this recently, near
Yeah.
misses, and so he's talking about helping them with therapy and AA. Listen, that's just not going to do the trick,
Yeah.
right? It's like when I know because I had to do all that stuff court mandated with a DUI,
Yes.
right? And I learned a few good things, like how much you drink and how many hours of sleep. You'll still have alcohol in your system. You'll still be legally probably intoxicated.
Right.
People don't know these things, right? Well, you're not learning that from therapy. You're not learning that from these little courses. You're learning to stop. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to learn that I need to be responsible and not be driving drunk here.
Right. That's
You know,
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I've been part of a lot of programs, a lot of national programs. I'll leave them unnamed, and these programs have helped a lot of people, millions and millions of people, get the tools, get the steps, get the things in their life to get their lives in order. And yet, at the same time, these tools are just that, tools. They do not create change. Change comes by doing things differently, not by adding a layer of accountability. Accountability is important. It's like you used to talk about as a gym owner and as a personal trainer. You can't walk around and slap the sandwich out of people's hands.
no, I
You just
can't.
can't do it.
Yeah,
And you can't
yeah.
call them every day and say, Did you eat some cake? Did you eat some cake? Did you do your sit-ups?" That's annoying. And ultimately, it doesn't work. And people are motivated by different things. But what we have come to learn is that, well, I'll just tell you a story about my own experience in this. Back in 2001, 2002, I was part of an organization, a nonprofit organization, and our particular area, we had about 1,200 people, and in that 1,200 people, there was several different small groups of individuals who were under some national programs and therapy for addiction. Many of them in rehab, many of this or that. The recidivism rate on addiction is very high. That means people who get free and then they go back and they get free. And the same thing is true with behavior. But because I got a bad attitude, I don't get to go to jail for it. You're driving with a bad attitude,
Hmm.
or whatever. And anyway, I had really good success facilitating a core group of about 20 men over a 2-year period. One of those men had been an alcoholic for his entire life since he was like 14. He was in his mid 30s. And he was clean the whole time he's with me. We met weekly. And I moved. I left Georgia and went to Virginia. A week later, after after I moved, I received a letter in the mail, and this letter was written from this man's wife. And this letter was 3 pages long, handwritten, and it was an absolute indictment against me and my family and everything in the most horrible ways possible. And she said to me, here's the centerpiece: I can't believe that you would leave because my husband started drinking 4 days later. And when she talked to him about, now this is his excuse now. We've done a podcast on this already. He's blaming me. It's his fault. But this is the point that I learned in that. As long as I was there, he didn't drink. So what I was doing for him was not helping him transform. What I was doing was enabling him not to drink. That's not change. That's important. It's important. That's process. That's a start of it. And so, knowing who he was, not knowing who he was. If I could go back and find that guy now, I could coach him, and in 60 days he'd never touch a drop.
And that's the funny thing.
I'm confident.
That's the funny thing, because the way we all start this is we start in the ways that we understand. It's why you would pick therapy if you go like, I need help. That's why you immediately think of it, right? It's why we go to anger management or the alcohol prevention course when the judge orders you to do it, right? I mean, they even do it with now in most states and most provinces in Canada, you're mandated to do a parental course when you get separated.
Oh.
That course don't do shit.
Right.
That course doesn't do shit. There's nothing about contempt. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
It's a big problem when people are getting divorced, don't you think?
Yeah.
But see, they have, and this is the same with companies. They put this stuff in place, and you don't realize how it doesn't we're not affecting the actual issues.
Right.
Right. We're just dealing with symptoms. Oh, let's just make sure that we understand a few rules for separation here.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-freaking do, man.
Right.
Right. And this is why we're not solving our problems. See, and we learned the hard way because we tried to save ourselves, and we're following these things. And then when you teach what you know.
Yes.
The reason we became so successful at what we do now is because we had to experiment with things that actually worked to actually change our life.
That's right.
And because that worked, like this is a running joke. People are so grateful. They'll thank me. They'll thank you for your programs. They'll thank Catherine for the programs. And we all go, dude, you're welcome. But I created it for me.
Yeah.
I just know it worked. So I started to sell it.
Yes.
That's
exactly right.
And that's the problem, right? People think that it's okay. Well, it's a business. Yes, of course. But no, man, my program saved my life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Your program saved your life. We both thought about killing ourselves.
Saved my life. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And so, that's why when I think about, a licensed therapist being my largest competitor online, who's never been married, I'm like, what in the actual wolf? Fuck. You know what I mean? You got to go to somebody who's been through the fire, man.
Yeah.
Right? You're dealing with anxiety. James is like 1,100 days anxiety free.
Yes.
And he wanted to he had a gun in his mouth many times.
Yes.
Like, this is important, people.
Yes, it is important. And right in the midst of that, and not to knock, therapy has a place, but my therapist couldn't save me from suicide. My pastoral friends couldn't save me from that. My family couldn't save me from that. I had to take a hard look at who I was. The reason I didn't want to live is because I didn't know who I was. And anxiety behind all of that, it's deep. And a lot of times what I find is we deal with the symptoms. We get the behavior change, but we never deal with the architecture. I'm big in, that's why I call myself a life integrated architect. I believe that we have to change the architecture underneath the behavior. Not in shadow work, we don't wallow in the past. We don't come and find out the spark of where this stuff started so that we can understand it and sit in there and kumbaya with it. We understand as far as we need to understand that it's not who we really are and who we really are. See, I don't believe there is any person that is intrinsically an alcoholic. I don't believe there's any person that's intrinsically angry. I don't think there's anybody that's an infidel. I think we learn to become these things either out of just being done and don't know what else works, or because these things actually helped us cope with the fact that we didn't feel valuable in our lives.
Oh my gosh, let's spin this over for a second, because we often hear about men. He's a sex addict. He's not a sex addict. He's coping with feeling value with a vagina.
Right.
And his imagination can't get rejected from porn. He can do all the crazy things he wants to do. I mean, we can go down. I don't want to go down any rabbit hole today, because the point is we take the belief system that we've been centered in, magnified, amplified by what's now called interest media. It's not social media anymore.
Yes.
I mean, and we start to think that these things are all real. He's got to go get help with a therapist because of his sex addiction. Motherfucker, the therapist doesn't even. So that's where they start. You're going to address a symptom instead of the fact that he sees zero value in himself. And this is why so many people, I mean, you guys come out of the woodwork on my calls with Catherine. Holy moly, last night, James, they're all on it. It's always going back to the affair stuff, always.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy because you guys are still looking at the symptom. And then this is why we had to talk about me raping Catherine and this woman talking. Hey, that's Jessica. That's what I was talking about. Hey, Jessica. Hey, buddy. This woman talking about being assaulted, and why we had to share a story of Catherine taking responsibility, because it's uncanny how we victimize ourselves, because that's also what society tells you. You deserve to leave that person. That person shouldn't do that. And you forget that we would love that little child, and we would put that little child in therapy. So now you don't even want to put the adult in therapy. You're just like, you go fucking do therapy.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, this morning I do a little, somewhere between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. And I'm gonna try to get it down to 8:30, but every morning I go live for about 5 minutes. And this morning I talked about that the testimony is the teaching. And what you learn, and not just in that we teach what we learn. I wrote frameworks so that I could survive in life. I learned these frameworks by journaling, reflecting, and learning who I was, not trying to become something that I wanted to be. That was how it started. Then I realized I'm already this. Why in the hell is all this stuff in front of me? Why am I acting this? Why am I thinking this way? So now I don't have to choose how I'm going to act, because I act out of my truth. And so when we get to the end of the day, we see people that they come to the place of saying, hey, well, I don't know what to do. Why don't you be who you are rather than be who you have been acting as? And when you find that, and we're sitting here, we're talking about the human bleed, these 7 bleeds that go across, that compound, that go across every avenue of life, every possibility that could cause stress and things in the life of a person. Everything is affected. Not just your home life. Marriage and relationship is probably when people pay attention to it first.
The most. Yet neglect it when it's they neglect it though when it's in the workplace.
Correct.
Right? Or they provide these simple solutions like an employee assistance program. Here's your little package therapy sessions. Oh, good. That's not even going to cover what you got to deal with your marriage.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's not even enough sessions.
It's
too slow.
It's not. It's too slow. No. And thing is it's okay to have the tools, but here's the thing that I've learned about tools. I've got a lot of tools. You can't see my study behind me, but I mean, I've got over 3,000 literal not hardback, but all paper books in this room, and tens of thousands of maybe 20,000 digital copies on I read, and I've learned a lot. Why did I learn? Because I never felt competent enough. And so learning made me have competence. Competence was praised. That competence was never fully embodied by me. So I continued to learn and continued to, quote, grow until I just finally burned out. But I didn't burn out. I was buried so deeply I couldn't breathe, because the real me, the lungs that I'd breathed from that gave me life, were not mine. Somebody else breathed for me. A bunch of people breathed for me. And so the tools are good, but if you don't use them truthfully as the true person, it's just another form of bondage. Another form of slavery.
I want to see how important, send a real clear message of how important this is, you guys. Had a man join the program 2 days ago. Okay. His wife comes back from a trip. I believe she was using that trip to see what it would be like with go with her sister, And I haven't had a chance to speak to him. He's blowing up my phone, James. Blowing up my phone. Wife doesn't and I don't know all the ins and outs yet. But wife doesn't want him in the program. What, you spent money to save this marriage? And so he forgets that he's trying to get tools. He forgets that the whole reason he joined is to find out who he was and learn how to do this correctly. And he says, oh my God, she's going to leave me. She's going to divorce me. I got to quit. You guys, there's a thing about wanting more, having the tools, not having them, wanting to get them. But then there's this big problem, because we see this when you have the tools and you don't implement. He's too new to be implementing. It's not his fault yet. Yeah. Okay. But we see this because you stand in your own way, trying to find a way to mask it. Yes. The example I like to use is when you're at a client in my gym, when I had a gym. What do? You say, hey, I got a personal trainer. Motherfucker, you don't even work out hard. You definitely don't eat right. So don't be saying you have a trainer. Start talking about, do you like this? What's the lifestyle that I can create? Maybe it's not the gym. Maybe you like fucking Pilates or something, and you need to do something that you'll enjoy so you be consistent. And then you don't have to hide behind anything anymore. And you get some results. It's the same thing when they come into my program trying to get their wives back.
Yeah.
Right? They think that's why this man told his wife about it. I tell men, tell your wife that you found something. You got to get to work. And I can't wait. Smile. I can't wait. We're going to have lots to talk about.
Right.
I'm not here to set you up for failure when you start. Obviously, I'm disrupting divorce.
Right.
But you're joining because you want to say to your wife, look at me. That's a problem. That's why she's leaving you too.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because it's a desperation. It's a chasing. And that goes into every aspect of life. Every time you turn around, these things are evident, more evident in the relationship. But they're at the job. I mean, whether you're a CEO or a frontline worker that nobody even knows who you are because you don't even have a name tag on. All of the things in your life, who you are at home, directly affects who you are at work and vice versa. Because it's not just home life needs to be okay so that work life can be okay. Work life needs to be okay so that home life can be okay. And you're thinking, well, that's a pipe dream. No, it's not. The chaos around you should not have any determination on your joy, should not have any bearing on your freedom, and should not have any power whatsoever over the movement that you have in life and the way you see yourself. But for most people, I dare say all, but I haven't talked to every person in the world, but for most people, this is the case. There's always something outside of them, whether it be circumstantial, relational, or, well, what else is there? Emotional, that drives them. And then we've allowed that to take place in our society by dealing with the Band-Aid, the symptomatic, covering up the symptoms, changing the behavior. But so then what we do is we end up with an entire generation of people who are acting healthy, but they're not healthy. They have great bodies. They have great discipline. They have great blood work. They have great relationships. But are they? Because when something, and then what happens? This is what we do. Something happens. We say, oh, look at John and Sally. Oh my God, we thought they were so happy. What happened? Why did he go? Why did he end up in rehab? We didn't even know he was doing drugs. He wasn't doing drugs until 3 weeks ago. He just decided to start doing drugs. Well, he must have lost his mind. No, he found a voice that he'd been quieting for too long. And he lived in the Truman Show. He lived in the Matrix, per se. And now he's like free and he doesn't know how to handle it because there's nowhere out there for guides to live and exist with the tools to walk with people. And that's why people like us exist.
Yes. And, we were talking about labels yesterday and masks and taking them off, and somebody's talking about somebody or friends, a dismissive avoidant, wants to find out. See, this is the problem. She's going, do you go to a therapist? Well, no, because just like John doing the blow now, right? Trying to find an outlet. He's channeling the energy wrong, losing himself even further.
Right.
We do that to people as well. When we have the new term, the attachment theories have blown up.
Yeah.
Okay. Narcissism blew up in the last 5-6 years, like blown up. These labels come out and we get diagnosis and we, I think you say diagnoses.
Right.
And the problem is then we stop asking the right questions. I was talking to a client the other day and he was like, my wife is dismissive avoidant. She needs to go to a therapist. She's got to do some of her own work. And she starts going on about her childhood and all this shit. I said, stop it. Has she always been dismissive avoidant? He says, yes. I said, okay, well, then it's possible. I keep asking questions. And then as I'm hearing his story, and she wasn't avoidant. She used to run to the door to see him. She used to initiate sex all the time. If there was a hard problem, she would sit down, she would talk, she would cry, she wouldn't leave. Like, people grow into the diagnoses that we allow them to see. Sometimes they do it to themselves, like John finding the blow.
Right.
Sometimes they go down the social media rabbit hole.
Yes.
And if you're the one looking for your term, you start to get guilty and ashamed real fast.
Yep.
And the therapist will put you in the pain and start talking about your childhood, right? I mean, I was angry in my adult life, but I wasn't even allowed to be angry in my home.
Right.
I unleashed the beast more and more as I got older because the less and less I knew myself, the more and more I was losing myself.
Right.
Right. And that's why therapy didn't work. Talking about my parents and the abuse, what the fuck, man? Now, I know that some of you will get some value from that, but really what you want to do is think about how you can move forward in identity.
Yeah.
It's like all of you that want to leave your spouse, or all of you that want to fire your employees, all of you that want to blame Facebook because their ads don't work, marketing doesn't work, saturated. No, you don't know who you are and you don't have some skills.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Everything's skills. Wouldn't you say everything's just fucking skills,
I
James?
say it is. I say most of the time. I mean, everything boils down to what you're able to learn and then able to operate. So, I mean, I've got a really nice knife in the kitchen in there, and I slice tomatoes with it. It's beautiful. But I have a cheap knife in the kitchen that I slice tomatoes with absolutely the same way. I've got a friend who's a chef at the university here. He came over a couple of weekends ago and started to cook us some stuff. He said, "Oh, you got to." He pulled out that knife, and it was a masterful display of the use of that tool. And I'm going, well, that makes me feel bad. He says, "I don't even know why you got a knife like this, James. You don't know how to use it." And the truth is, he's right. I wanted to use it. I thought if I bought that really nice knife, I could chop like that. I said, "Bro, how did you do that?" He said, 50,000 onions. You got to hone the skill. You've got to develop the skill.
And we hear that in business too.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy is the first person I ever learned business from when I had the gym. And he would say that you got to do 2,000 calls, man.
Yeah.
2,000 meetings.
That's right.
To get any sort of skills, man. Why? Because it's just like in marriage. You got to get rejected a lot and not take it personal to prove to yourself that you're okay, that she doesn't want to talk right now, that he doesn't want to sleep with me right now,
right?
That he wants to go out with his friends. You got to take the rejection and get good at handling it. And it hurts. And it hurts because we don't know who we are when we're not feeling that love in return. Same thing when we're trying to identify the near misses at work that we were talking about earlier.
That's
right?
Right.
We don't have the skills to assess what the actual issue is. Was it the sleep deprivation and the human bleed there that he's not getting because he's not having sex with his wife and he's constantly thinking about it? Yeah. Was he a little bit unfocused because he just went for a release with some porn in the bathroom?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you guys are asking the wrong questions, whether it's at work, whether it's at home.
Right.
Even with your kids. Kids get a problem. How many times do we have to, probably at least twice a week, one of us has to tell somebody in our program, that's not how you punish your child. Like, that's how you make sure they don't want to talk to you when you're an adult. And along the way, it's the reason that's going to happen is because they're going to start lying to you. They're going to start disconnecting from you. They're going to be afraid of you.
That's right.
And so now you have a relationship where ultimately they will run from you. And you'll make it all about you. How many parents don't do? James, you told a beautiful story this morning. You talked about your daughter wanted to swing, really couldn't. You said, but today I'm going to make sure we go sit in the swings.
That's right.
You just chill for a while.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly.
We talked about making time, the I love you game with the kids. My kids do the I love you thing. And that means, guys, if you're listening, that they want to hear me say, tell me you love me. And then they want me to tickle them to death, hug them to death, squeeze them to death as tight as I can until I can get them to say it. And they like to beat me. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that you build connection with, but we undermine that if we look at human bleed with the disconnect with our children, where we punish it,
right.
Force them to lie. It builds a pattern of disconnect that blows away because you start to focus on what you want. You start to focus on not feeling like you're a good parent. You start to feel like you do this thing wrong.
Yes.
And you start to blame them. I don't want you to fuck up in your life.
Right.
Mask it with love.
Yeah, you mask it and you say that it's love. And that's the thing, is that it's really outcome based. The people in this world, we live to get there. We live to get that. We live to get over yonder, whichever part of the country you're from. And, and we're never here. And we get to the there and the over yonder and everywhere else. And then that's the new here. We don't want to be here. We want to be someplace else. So we're never content with the fact that we're growing, that we're actually becoming. You take my friend who's a chef. I mean, he didn't learn how to use a knife so that he could become a chef. He was a chef. He is a chef. And part of the requirements of that is that he's pretty handy with chopping stuff for efficiency. And so long after he's not a chef anymore, he'll be able to chop stuff pretty well. So it's a skill that can carry on in every aspect of his life. A lot of times as parents, we want the behavior because we think, well, I want my children to be well behaved. No, you don't. You want your children to be true to themselves. You want your children to be true people, real people, free people, and have such an esteem for who they are, to see their self-worth, to not worry about your disappointment that motivates them to act a certain way, but let them act a certain way and see disappointment, but it doesn't detract their value or your love from them. Because if all you want is the outcome, you're never anybody true. You're never anybody real. Because what that does is it ultimately, and Cass said it a second ago, it turns around on you. And the only reason you're upset that your kids are making a scene in the department store, or that they're talking while you're trying to have a call on the phone and making some noise. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. My kids are in the background. Don't apologize for your children being alive. Don't apologize for them being
Beating children.
stupid children. Why aren't they dead right now? I'll bring them back when the time comes. But you can't make it about you. And then that's what happens subconsciously, almost unconsciously. And we begin to perform this loop of, this is about me. This is about me. And then we wonder why our boss or our spouse or our family comes in and said, why is everything got to be about you? We don't even see it. Because we're trying to have an outcome, because that outcome directly affects our worth in our own eyes.
And this is why therapists will send their clients to us when they find us.
Yes.
Right? Because they don't know how to get to the root of identity.
Yes.
We have two very different ways, but we've blended them.
Yes.
But we can each walk a man or a woman to a specific, not the outcome that you expect, but to like the desired destination. Right?
Right.
And I think because too many times we focus on, like, let's rewind. Let's go back to when I was building the Reset. It took me 4 years. You could do this on your own. You can read every book. James got 3,000 books there behind him. You can do what I did, write things down, try this, try that, develop a system, so to speak, to keep myself accountable and disciplined, to be the kind of man that would follow through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. Somewhere in there, you need to talk to people who have experienced fire.
Yes.
Right? Like if you want to be a good parent and you're talking to your buddy about parenting, and you can see when let's just say you're actually at the restaurant with your friends. Let's do it this way. You're at the restaurant with your friends and they're like, oh, your kids are so good. I love hearing that. Your kids are so good. They're so well behaved. They have such nice manners. I love hearing that, but it doesn't define me. I'm proud of my children.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's the other end of, don't be making noise in the restaurant.
Right.
We have to be very careful because we go learn the rules from wherever the desired location is. In this case, we'll say your friends loving the manners on your children. I wish my kids were like that. We get that a lot.
Yeah.
But now you put this mask on. And it's the same thing if you have an addiction and you want to go to the wrong place. The VAs, the poor VAs, James, in this country.
Yeah.
Their assistance program is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, how many thousands of VAs have we seen?
Yeah.
Or police, fire, like emergency. I'm talking about emergency systems.
Right.
And as far as I can tell, anybody at the hospital, they don't really have shit at all. It's, all this trauma these guys are going through and shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're told to cope. They're taught to cope and to not pass through the cycle of grief.
Thank you.
And let's think about the relationship for a minute at home. Let's just say, a lot of people will come to you, Cass, and and this is what they want. And I'm putting words in their mouth. But because they'll lie to you for the first week. And that's just what they do.
Usually. Yeah.
You know what? I want my spouse to love me. I want my spouse to feel secure. Those are good things. Those are good desires. Nothing wrong with those desires whatsoever. So therefore, I'm going to become a good spouse. Wrong. That's the wrong way to do it. Now, that's right. But how about I want to be a good spouse? And guess what's going to happen? There'll be safety in my home and my spouse will love me. See, we put the cart before the horse. We focus on the outcome so hard that everything we do is an act or a performance or an invisible contract. Everything. I don't care what it is. I see this a lot. Well, I just want to rekindle my faith. I want to get right with God. I want to get back in the church. And I'm going to tell you, as someone who spent 29 years in the nonprofit evangelical world, it's sort of disturbing, but it's not an indictment. I'm not here to get on to anybody with that because that's the natural. That's not authentic. And then they run that play and they're never really connected in a spiritual sense because they're doing it so that someone else will love them and they don't even know it. Don't look to Jesus to make your spouse love you more. Be a person that loves themselves and let that person be visible and live. Because listen, here's the news flash. You can't control the outcome of your family's emotions or decisions or anything, and you can't control the outcome of your employees' decisions or emotions or anything. You can't even control their productivity. You can manipulate it. You can try to, do whatever to put a fire into them, do out of threat, of fear, or incentive, but that's not real either. It's all a mask. and it's costing everything. And here's what it costs you most of all. It costs you yourself. It costs you yourself. And one day
Yeah.
you're going to have that disparity. You're going to see the gap between who you are on the inside and how you're living on the outside. And that gap, no matter how small, feels like an eternity.
Well, and that's why we do victimize ourselves,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's why it's easier to blame the one who cheated, because that was a bigger break in core values. But is it? Because you're married and now you want to leave.
Right.
You know what I mean? You said better for worse. You didn't say unless you fuck someone else.
Right.
I mean, maybe you guys should start saying that when you get married. Then maybe at least you have a real contract.
Right.
But instead, you're using this covert contract. I don't like how I feel about myself. When, like, when we start to really address these things, like that liar that comes into the program, they all lie. They're not even aware they're lying.
Right.
You know how many people complain on my social media about their spouse always lying and the betrayals, and these guys don't even know they're lying.
Right.
And I believe it's women too, because we are so afraid of not being good enough, because our value is intrinsic. It's in direct correlation to what we get in return.
Yes.
When we teach what you're talking about, showing up as a good spouse is the example you used. When's the last time you were fucking disrespectful? Literally is the base message one time of times that I say a lot of times, right? And it's like, you're telling me you never have? People actually believe they do it right, but because my partner's worse. You don't get to do it better or worse. You get to do it right or wrong, which means you just got to accept it. You need to learn the skills. And that's why you don't go to therapy and say, you guys are fighting. Let's learn some tools to not fight. Bullshit. Learn some tools to have conversation. Why even avoid the fight? Why not have a good conversation?
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Laughing, edge of your seats. Nobody takes it personal. You know what? I love hearing Catherine talk, that I could just sit there and listen to her.
Right.
I love hearing you talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, we all are talkers, though. You know what? If we all don't take it personal, you know what we have?
Yeah.
A conversation.
Conversation. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The difficulty only comes when your inability to handle the nervous system that's on fire because of the perceived threat, frustration, or loss. And there's no such thing as a difficult conversation for James Tippins. Not at all. There's no bad news. There's no difficult conversation. There's no frustration. And I'm not apathetic. I probably would say that I probably feel more deeply than most people living on the planet. But those things don't run you once you find the truth of you. Because it's not, and that's the point. A lot of times we think that everything that we've got going on around us that hurts and that's on fire and that's not going well is because of the circumstances not being what they're supposed to be, or the people not being what they're supposed to be, etc. But it's always, and I'm batting 1,000 here with the people that I've worked with over the last few years. It's always the fact that it's something about the way you perceive yourself. It's the way you see your worth. You are fearful of not being you. And that's why all this stress and all this anxiety is there. And then it's, I don't know, we can't give away too much here on this because it's not the content or the topic of our conversation today. But, let's take it from us is that we see a 100% success rate on everyone who enters into either one of our programs with the right intention and stay with it. We have to flip the intention at times. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time, especially
for that for them. Yeah.
Yes, you have to correct it. But like practical steps, guys, practical steps when you think about trying to solve your problems. Okay. Number one, we have to always think, is this in alignment with who I would like to be? I mean, we can have this perceived notion of what you think you should be. Just don't sit there too long, because it's not cool to say, I'm not going to yell. It's like, it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
You've all tried it. You've all replayed how you're going to say it in your mind before you had that difficult or hard conversation.
Yes.
No, what you need to understand is you need to get to the truth, and you need to understand them. James and Catherine teaches all the time. Curious, understand them. Because the fastest way to turn any situation down with a relationship, in any relationship you ever have, work, home, spouse, especially kids, the fastest way is to actually want to them talk, them feel, get to the real feelings, what they're actually going through, so we can use cheating as an example. It's not the why you cheated. It's like, what do you feel?
Yeah.
You need to understand it. Don't make this about you. That must be awful to live in guilt and shame knowing it hurt you. You just don't see it because you don't want to be there for them. You just want to get mad at your employee because they fucked up at work and they cost the company $50,000. Why? What are they feeling? The fastest way to move and be the kind of person is to want to know them. Now you can take the pressure off if you stop victimizing yourself and you can start to ask yourself the right questions.
That's right.
Would you agree, James?
I would. I agree completely. And I think the curiosity, like Cass is talking about, I mean, that's the primary function of really finding the truth of who you already are. You've got to ask the questions, who am I here? Why am I doing this? All the basic stuff. But asking those questions took me 7 to 8 years. And then once I started looking at the 3,000 plus pages of written stuff that I'd written over those years, and I started seeing the framework through which I found those answers. Now, what I did to create my program was to take a very simple process of putting those questions in front of you in the right place, in the right order, with the right guidance and the right opportunity for you to open that door and walk through it. Because without curiosity for yourself, without curiosity for the world around you, you're really just trying to control it or to avoid it. And so I think that's asking the right questions. In order for you to do that, you have to be able to see clearly. And so clarity is one of those things that's extremely important to me. I do not like ambiguity. However, I've had to understand that ambiguity is part of life. You can't get away from it, but it doesn't shake you. Have clarity where you can, answer questions where you can, and the unknown or the obscure, you just let those wait for the time when they'll open up. And that's primarily the heartbeat or the breath, the breathing of the work that we do to help you holistically govern your life in a place of what I call autonomy. That doesn't mean free. That doesn't mean free from anything or free from everything that bothers you. It means free for life, free for everything that belongs to you. And that's what we're trying to help people understand in the work that we do.
Yeah, it's pretty. I find it fascinating because we keep growing, we keep creating, So I find it fascinating because if you think back to how we built our programs totally differently,
Yes.
but also dealing with different things.
Correct.
Okay, and the idea of thinking that I'm done learning is crazy to me. So I mean, I'm circling back here, if you don't know, to why we can still use some of these things. There's great books.
Yes.
But I talked to a man this week who was like, I'm so thankful for the fact that you guys created a 6th love language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, things are outdated now. The reason why I like proximity so much when Catherine invented it, it's a fun episode on the podcast. The other one, if you haven't been there, but is because in order to sit in awkward silence, I had to learn to be comfortable in that silence.
Right.
Which means I had to learn how to deal with it.
That's right.
And that means that no amount of talking about and reliving my trauma was going to work. So just like I started the show with my example of my drinking and driving, I had to want to not kill somebody.
Right.
It wasn't going there and being told that you're bad for drinking and you shouldn't do it and this is how you could be better. No, I had to have the desire to be a good person,
right,
and not want to be a threat to people on the road.
Right. Yeah. And then when you live like that, you actually realize, well, I am a good person in this way. Why was I drinking to begin with?
Exactly.
Because it was
that's
getting
the
in
point.
the way.
Yes. And that's the point, you guys. When James and I are talking about really who you want to be, you do have to understand it's not about you. Nothing in this world is about you. It isn't. If you can really grasp that, and I mean, it's not easy. I understand. That's why we have programs and coaching and whatever. But if you can grasp the fact that it's really nothing is about you, that's why the outcome doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because none of us can change anything. Why do so many business owners start a business and then fail? Because they are attached to an outcome and it's not about them. Why do you think we do so well? Because we want to change the world.
Right.
That's why I say I'm creator of life half the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we want to change the world. So it's not a transactional thing that we do.
Right.
Which is why most business people fail. They expect, if I do this, I'll get that.
That's right.
I'm going to make $1 million a year. Fuck, I did that for 20 years with a gym and didn't make any money until I started to ask what kind of man I wanted to be at my gym.
There you go.
And now, I was the reason why I say at the gym is because I wasn't talking at that point in my journey about everywhere in my life, right? And this is what happened when I started taking care of the clients that weren't coming by asking what's going on, finding out it's almost always home related, or if it was job related, it then went to home related.
Yes.
right?
That's right.
They started to realize that I was there for them. I didn't have to talk about me, although I probably did talk about me back then too much, right? But then I could welcome them into an identity of the part that they wanted with the healthy lifestyle,
Right.
right?
Exactly right.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's just important to understand, we've talked about a lot of things here on this episode, but tools, resources, people, relationships, all of these things are important to growth. But if you don't know how to make them yours and use them from your inner truth, they're just tools that are just invisible contracts to try to get the outcome of something that you can't get. The second thing that we
Mhm.
talked about is know who you're listening to. Don't listen to us because we have a platform and we're just talking. Listen to us because where we're trying to tell you, or where we're trying to take you, is where we've come. We've come to this place. We're standing there. And I, just for redundancy and ad nauseum, one of my mentors told me many years ago that if you just look behind you sometimes and there's nobody behind you following you, you're not a leader. You're just a man taking a walk.
Mhm.
And friends, sometimes you follow someone who's not a leader. They're just a Pied Piper and they're taking you down to a promised land that doesn't exist because
Oh yeah.
of one experience or two. How many times do we see guys who are, a little chunky or out of weight, and then they start looking good, they start looking fly, and now they're a fitness coach? Or and then they turn from fitness coach to whatever. Now they're doing the same old stuff. Oh, we're going to change your entire life. Well, their life didn't entirely change. Their diet changed, their discipline changed, and their body changed, and it did change the way they viewed the world. But they're not taking you to a place of freedom they're taking you a place of freedom from obesity, which is good if that's what you're looking for. But make sure that the person that you're listening to and the books that you're reading are not given such weight that with this I will become. No, with you, you will be. And now listen to the people who have also walked that same path and they can help guide you there. Just be
That's,
careful, be discerning.
I think this is such a valuable point, and we're gonna have to cut it pretty quick, guys. But this is a reason why we don't sell courses. We sell programs with coaching,
Yes.
because otherwise you don't have the guidance, the direction, because you will inherently go back to your pain, like this man who wants to get out of the program with refund because his wife's going to divorce him.
Yes.
Hey, you called me because she's going to divorce you.
Right.
Sakes. You know what I mean? Like, we need to have somebody there to lead you until you can lead yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. This hard work, you guys. I don't care if you're talking about saving a marriage, building a business.
Right.
I don't care if you're talking about trying to find who you are. Parenting, I think, is one of the hardest things on the freaking planet.
It's hard.
So you need, I believe personally, you cannot do it alone. And by the way, anybody successful has never done it alone. Even if they were reading books, they weren't doing it alone, and people have this notion they have something to prove, and you just got to let all the ego go. You get to help. You ask the questions.
Right.
When we do these lives, you guys should be really trimming these things down. It's too much to read right now. And you should make it a question, a simple, so otherwise it's too hard for us to get to you. But the whole point is that when you have a space that you trust, like James said, discernment, have they got where you want to go is the big one. You wouldn't ask someone broke how to make money. Why are you asking a guy never been married to be your marriage coach? Why are you asking a therapist if they're like, think about it, therapists are firing clients.
Yes.
The only time I fire a client is if he's starting to cause big fucking problems or trying to communicate with women on the app. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a guy who's not ready for real change potentially. It doesn't happen very often, right? But therapists will say this won't work. I can't work with you yet.
Right. And that
happens all the time.
And that's a good limitation. We have the same type of process in some of the potential clients that we deal with. If they're not at a specific place, if they're not in a specific mindset and willing to do specific work that we ask for them, we can't help them because we can't make people change.
But we can say to them, listen, this behavior is the same thing we've talked about for 6 weeks in a row.
Yes.
You're just asking the question a little bit different every time, but you're still trying to do it with a contract, and your wife is still going to want to divorce you.
That's right.
We just say it like it is.
That's exactly
right.
Exactly right.
All right, guys. Well, this has been an awesome day. I love these conversations. We'll